Defending Utah covers the stories others are just too often afraid to touch.
They don't nibble around the edges when it comes to pointing out threats to our liberty. They're not afraid to name names and call out organizations.
This is Defending Utah Radio, every Friday morning at 9 on K-Talk 1640. Defending Utah. Think right and wrong, not right and left. Join Defending Utah, because if you're not already on a government watch list, you should be.
Good Freedom Friday morning. This is Ben McClintock from defendingutah.org, where we think right and wrong, not right and left. We are so glad you've joined us this hot July 12th, 2019 morning. It is 9:07 right here in the K-Talk studios. I'm from Defending Utah, where we think right and wrong, not right and left. And if you want to be a part of the conversation today, give us a call at 801-254-1640. We got 801-254-1640 is the number to call. We have a lot of things to talk about, local news, as well as getting into some of the things that you like about us, getting into some history that is Utah-centric, that help us to understand what's really going on behind the scenes. We just had a meeting with some folks last night in Logan, and they were asking me, well, if we understand these secret combinations, the conspiracy in Utah, what do you do about it? Well, the first thing is that if you don't understand what's really going on behind the scenes, you can't really take effective action. So you first got to know what's going on behind the scenes to be able to do anything. Because if you're like, well, I'm just going to kind of go and apply correct principles and kind of move things along and just kind of do what I would normally do, as whether it's secret combinations are happening or not. Well, with that, then you're not really getting the full picture. Sun Tzu in The Art of War, he explained that if you know yourself and you know your enemy, you cannot be imperiled in 100 battles. And that's what's going on, is why so often people that are involved in the liberty fight, they get worn out because they've spent all these years spinning their wheels, not being effective, not getting things done because they follow that tactic of not thinking that it matters. But we can have a real big impact if we understand, if we realize that it matters and what to do with it afterwards. And so we'll be getting that into the program today. But I wanted to start off the program getting into how the federal government has been accessing our state driver's license database. It just came out that in the news this week that the feds have been tapping in to our the DMV database and accessing thousands of records right here in the state of Utah, and without a warrant, and the state is complying completely. And so if you want to chime in on that, what are your thoughts on that? Is that a good thing? Is that going to help stop crime, or is that a complete and total violation of due process and privacy guaranteed in the Fourth and Fifth Amendments of the Constitution? Give us a call. 801-254-1640 is the number. 801-254-1640. So this goes back to the state of Utah just complying with any kind of request from the federal government. This goes back to 2003, actually, when the Republican Congress, under the direction of the then Republican President George W. Bush, they passed the Real ID program, which is essentially a national ID card. Now, if you go to the Department of Homeland Security website, they'll say, no, this isn't a national ID card. This is just a set of standards that we are forcing every state to comply with if they want to fly in an airplane, visit their congressman, or go to a courthouse, or any other federal building. And so this was actually signed in 2005. They've been working on it for a few years before that. And it, according to the EFF, which is the Electronic Frontier Foundation, they say that these makes your state driver's license, which is actually now a federal ID, the only accepted form of ID for federal purposes. And what's interesting is, the state of Utah, up until this last year's session, earlier this year, we were completely compliant with the Real ID program, minus one little thing. We didn't have our little Jewish star on it, right? And so the federal government said, well, you're not compliant. This isn't a safe form of ID. This isn't secure until you put your little yellow star on your driver's license, because that's going to make your ID so much more secure, and it's going to, let us know that something we already knew because of the laws that you've passed, and we can look at your database and know that you're compliant. But no, we need to make sure that you've put this little yellow, either Jewish star or this star of the Sneetches onto your driver's license to tell everybody that you were part of this new federal identification program. But the Electronic Frontier Foundation says that it is the only driver's. The Real ID states that driver's licenses will only be accepted for federal purposes like accessing planes, trains, national parks, and courthouses. So to be able to access national parks, you're going to need this federal ID, if they conform, of course, to these uniform standards. And the law also requires a vast national database linking all of the ID records together, part of a national database of all of the state's ID records. And of course, the Homeland Security, like I mentioned earlier, says that the Real ID does not actually create a federal database, but the law does require that states provide electronic access to all other states to information contained in the motor vehicle database of the state. So, no, it's not a national database. We're just linking all of the state's databases together into one national database. This is completely Orwellian doublespeak, saying it's not a national database when they just say that it is. It makes them, if they're compliant with this, they are part of the national database. And it is essential to understand that these people are lying when they say that it's not. That is a complete technicality, and when in actual effectiveness, it is a national database, and this is a national ID card. This goes through a state-to-state service run by the American Association of Motor Vehicle Administrators, right? Didn't realize that your state driver's license division was actually a part of a private national corporation linking the driver's licenses and the identifications in the state to a national database that the feds can now access. And this actually is not just all over the United States, but it links it to Canadian as well, which, of course, links our national ID card to, and it makes it a multinational ID card, linking it to Canada, with the ultimate goal of being able to link it to Mexico as well as a part of a North American Union ID card. And so those states that are a part of this, that are compliant, the Department of Homeland Security has indicated that participation in it will be required for it to be actually Real ID compliant. So to say that it's not part of this national ID is ridiculous, because to be compliant, it has to be part of this database that links it nationally as well as internationally. Now, in the beginning, there were a lot of states. Unfortunately, Utah was never one of them, because our state legislature is vehemently opposed to actually enforcing federalism. They're vehemently opposed to actually saying, you know what, the Constitution doesn't authorize. They're against enforcing the Constitution, and our state legislature and our executive branch of the state of Utah, they just, whatever the feds do, whatever the feds say, whether Republicans or Democrats, for some reason our legislature is hell-bent on doing whatever it is that they say. But there were actually 35 states across the country that were nullifying the Real ID. Most of them have now caved in one form or another to the threats of not being able to fly, but the state of Arizona has done something unique with this, is that they've made their the default is not national ID compliant, but they give you the option to be able to opt in if you want to, do the things that the federal government's requiring. So which is nice, because unfortunately they are complying. They're not just sticking it to the feds, but it's kind of the a middle ground that you might say is that they are saying, no, generally speaking, your ID will not be federally ID. In fact, if you get an Arizona driver's license right now, it'll have across the top of it, not compliant or not to be used for federal identification purposes. And so it is, and then if you want to be able to fly or go to courthouses or go to national parks, you have to get a separate Real ID compliant card. And so, but it is right now, so there are states where you can actually get a driver's license that isn't a part of this national database. And so that's a really good option for people to be able to actually have the freedom to not be a part of this national ID system. And if the state of Utah, even wanted to pretend to care about federalism, they would at least give lip service to that kind of option. But no, they've made us completely compliant, including the yellow star that they include on the driver's licenses. And this has led to what we see here is we have ICE as well as the FBI accessing our state records without a warrant. They're searching through and using the photo database as a facial recognition system with accessing thousands of IDs through this process of a warrantless search to be able to access and find people that they couldn't get a warrant to do a search on. So it's not just like, oh, well, these guys, they're just going after criminals. Well, if they were actually going after somebody that had some actual evidence against them, they'd be able to get a warrant. We've seen plenty of different reports about how easy it actually is to get a warrant. You just apply for it. In less than 5 seconds, most warrants are approved by a judge. So the judge normally doesn't even look at the warrant, and they haven't even gone to that through that hoop, that nominal rubber stamp hoop of getting that to be able to access it. They're just going. The FBI is just going to the Department of Transportation in Utah and saying, "Hey, let us have access to this," and we're just saying, "Okay, whatever," And the state of Utah has actually gone through. When this story broke earlier this week, the Department of Public Safety in Utah came out with a very Orwellian doublespeak response of, "We haven't violated any laws." Not denying it, not confirming it, but saying we're being compliant with the law, and that we take privacy seriously. So they imply that no, we're not doing any of this because we take your privacy seriously. But then on the other hand, they're saying that they're just complying, that they're compliant with the law. And so we have some people on the that consider themselves, conservatives, are saying, well, this is great because ICE is using it to stop illegals. Well, what they're not realizing is that this is actually not just part of ICE, and it actually has a much more expansive reach, and we'll talk more about it after the break right here on Defending Utah Radio.
Tired of bureaucrats and tyrannical government? Defending Utah knows how to fix that. It's called nullification. To find out more, stop by our office and pick up your pamphlet on nullification today. DefendingUtah.org. Think right and wrong, not right and left.
This Defending Utah presentation brought to you in part by Anderson Accounting, AndersonAccounting.com, Trust Plumbing, 801-808-5470, Higher Calling Firearms, HigherCallingFirearms.com, Pioneer Family Scholars, Black Lotus Web Dev, BlackLotusWebDev.com, American Appliance at 801-254-2566, Shem Financial Services, 801-856-6151, and the law offices of Garrett T. Smith, 801-477-1570, and Kangen Water at championsneverquit.biz.
It's a fact. More photos of you are being taken than ever before. Are you ashamed of your smile? At last, a new technology that gives a brighter and healthier smile in under 2 hours. And it's fully warranted, so you'll never have to worry about your smile again. Call Dr. Jeremy Thompson at Thompson Dental, 801-254-0835, or visit GoNewSmile.com, and we'll show you how you can restore your faded, yellowed, or worn teeth without surgery, crowns, or implants. And it's backed by a 30-day, 100% satisfaction money-back guarantee. This scientific breakthrough will painlessly transform your appearance in one visit. The smile you've been waiting for will never cost less or look brighter than it will today. Call 801-254-0835 or visit GoNewSmile.com. That's GONU Smile.com to revitalize your smile. New Smile. It looks good on you.